Welcome into our today's mathematics class, and we are continuing with understanding fractions, decimals, and percentages. And today we shall look at percentage of quantity. Percentage of quantity. You realize that a common application of percentage is to certain percentage of a given number. Now, throughout lifetime, we will always come across so many examples that you will be required to calculate percentages of quantities. For example, you can be required to calculate the percentage discount. You can be required to calculate the interest in percent, the salary increase, personal improvement, all these as percentages. Now, it is always necessary that we understand how useful we should be able to express this percentage. Now, like taking for example, we can have a child, we can have someone with $100, and then to express this as a percentage of quantity, somebody asks that if you have 100, donate 10% of what you have. So this one will be 10% of 100, which will be 10 over 100 times 100. You get it is $10. So percentage of quantity is simply used to help us know exactly what we need. Let us look at the following pairs and mentally use mental arithmetic to calculate their percentages. Now, you may be asked to calculate 10% of $35. 10% of $35. This one will be 10 over 100 times 35. You'll find that this one will give us $3.5. Therefore, 10% of that $5 is equivalent to 3.5. We have others. You can also try to find 2% of $550. This one is the same as 2 over 100 multiplied by 550. This one will give us 110 over 10, which is equals to $11. So percentage of quantities can be expressed in this manner. So to find percentage of a number, we need to look at the following and maintain their principles. First, we need to find percentage. First, we find that to find percentage of a number, we shall be required to express the required percentage as a fraction. You need to express the required percentage as a fraction. For example, if we are asked for 25% of $60, 25% of $60, we shall express this 25% as a fraction first, that this is 25 over 100 times 60. So this is what I'm trying to say. Express the percentage as a fraction, first of all. This one is equivalent. When you simplify, it's 1 over 4 times 60, which will give us 15. It will give us 15. Also, we change the off to a multiplication sign. 25% off $60. So we are saying you change the off to be a multiplication sign, right? So what you notice is that we have left from saying 25% of 60 to having 25% times 60. So the sign, multiplication sign, has replaced the word of. Then look for a written or mental strategy to complete the multiplication, just the way we have handled it. Simplify it the simplest as possible so that you can handle it mentally. You are also allowed to use a calculator if you have to do it directly by simply getting what you need directly. So let us look at worked out examples and see how they apply. Question 1, find 30% of 50 and B 15% of 400. So in our problem that we have here, we've been asked to simply get 30% of 50. So in our solution, as we said earlier on, the first thing is to actually change. We want to find 30% of 50. We shall express 30% as a fraction. That is 30 over 100. Replace the word of with a multiplication sign. So we shall have 30 over 100 times 50. That is what we have. So when you are multiplying this out, we need to simplify it as much as possible. So you'll notice that 50 goes into 100 twice. By 50 is 1. So it will remain with 30 over 2, which is equals to 15. So we have 15 as our answer. Remember, we need to observe the following. First, express, in our explanation, we express percentage. We express the percentage as a fraction. And then we also need to remember to cancel and simplify. To cancel and simplify. That is how we arrive at 15. Second approach would have been what we call mental arithmetic. If we needed to do that, we would have just gone for mental arithmetic, meaning we would have asked ourselves here. If we don't want to use this method, we use mental arithmetic. In this particular case, we say we want to find 30% of 50. We ask ourselves 10% of 50 is what? And realize that 10% of 50 is the same as 1 over 10 multiplied by 50, which will give us 5. Then we say if 10% of 50 is 5, then 30%, therefore 30% will be 5 multiplied by 3, which is 15. 15% of 400. 15% of 400. For this one here, the very first option we know very well. We express 15 as a fraction that is 15 over 100. Replace this word of with a multiplication sign, so that is what we have. By simplifying, by 100 is 1, by 100 is 4, so 15 times 4 is 60. So we have it as 60. If you chose to use mental arithmetics, what would happen? If you chose to use mental arithmetics, we would simply say 15, we can look at the list, is we could go for 5% of 400, which is simply 5 over 100 multiplied by 400. This one will give us 20. But because 5% is 20, then 15 it will be, there 15% will mean it is 20 multiplied by 3, which is 60. So we have been able to get the percentage of a number. Now let us look at solving a worded percentage problem. Now in this question here, Jacqueline has saved up $15 to purchase a new pair of jeans. She tries on So looking at our question, Jacqueline has saved up $50 to purchase a new pair of jeans. She tries on many different pairs but only likes 2 styles, AV and Next. The AV jeans are normally $70 and are on sale with 25% discount. The Next jeans retails for $80 and have a 40% discount for the next 24 hours. Can Jacqueline afford either pair of jeans? That is the question we need to answer. Is she able to afford or not? So let us look at the solution, and we shall consider each style of jeans, that is the AV and Next, and calculate its amount and put aside and see how much we require for each case. Just as a reminder here, we have AV jeans, which goes at $70 and discounted of 25%. We have Next jeans, which goes at $80 and discount of 40%. So we can start working out the cost of the first style of jeans, that is the AV jeans. So we need to calculate what is the discount for purchasing AV jeans. So for AV jeans, discount given is 25% of $70. 25% of $70. So you realize this one, when you simplify it, it is the same as saying 25 over 100 was replaced of multiplied by 70. This is the same as 1 over 4 multiplied by 70, which is simply 70 over 4, or just we have it as it gives us 70 divided by 4. When you take 70 divided by 4, you will get the discount at $17.5. So we find that we are dividing, and when you divide, the discount we are getting is 17.50. Remember, this is dollars or currencies. It has to be nearest to 2 decimal places. Now, then, how much will it cost Jacqueline to buy these jeans? So the selling price will be the cost, which was $70 minus $17.5. And you realize that what you get there is $52.50. So if AV jeans is bought at a discount of 25%, the cost will be 52 shillings. Let us look at Next jeans. For Next jeans, it retails at 80 shillings, but with a discount of 40%. So we have to get 40% of $80, which is 40 over 100 multiplied by 80. You'll work out this. When you simplify, you'll find this one is the same as 4 over 10, we have 4/10 multiplied by 80. By 10 it goes there, it comes to be 4 times 8, which is 32. So we find our discount is $32. Now, from the $32, if the cost to get the selling price will be 80 less 32. 80 less 32, you'll find that the price here will be $48. So, how much was Jacqueline holding? How much did she have? She had saved $50. How much can she afford? Can she afford to buy AV jeans at 25%? No. Can she afford to buy next jean at 80 shillings but with 40% discount? Yes, because she'll be required to pay $48. $48. So let us now look at a different application on fractions and percentages, using fractions and percentages to compare two quantities. Using fractions and percentages to compare two quantities. So we find that sometimes we want to know the proportion of certain quantity compared to another given total quantity or another quantity. Now, in most cases, this may be done using either a fraction or a percentage or a ratio. That's what normally say. For example, we look at the ratio of, we can look at the ratio of fish in an ocean, maybe whale compared to other types of small fish, the dolphin and so on. We can look at the ratio of animals in the park. We can talk of lions and other elephant and so on. We can look at a pool. We can compare the ratio of tadpoles to the frogs. So when we are talking about using fractions and percentages to compare quantities, we are only going to consider circumstances where we have the total quantities and then two different items. So this we require, for this fraction, we require the amount and then the total. We require amount and the total. For example, if you are taking goats and sheep, then if we want to find out the ratio of sheep to the total heads of animals in the farm, then we shall take the number of maybe the sheep that we require over the total. That's what we are trying to call a fraction while representing these particular numbers. So to express one quantity as a percentage of another, to express one quantity as a percentage of another, find an equivalent fraction. Find an equivalent fraction in which the denominator is 100. Find an equivalent fraction in which the denominator is 100. And remember, as we said earlier on, that this works in numbers like 5, 2, 4, 10, 20, 25, 50, and maybe 100 itself. They work very well on the numbers like this. So this is very ideal when you are looking at this. Then the next point to note is a ratio compares parts of a total. We say that a ratio compares parts of the total, parts of a total. We shall simply illustrate this using a small diagram here. Now we can have this rectangle with it has got 5 divisions. So let us say that the first 2 have been selected like this. And then the remaining 2 are not selected. So we have the shaded and the unshaded. So you'll find that shaded fraction here, we just count. What fraction is shaded? It's 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one gives us 2 over 5. And this can be shown in a wider area as a percentage. It is the same as 4 over 10, or we need to multiply by 10. That will give us 40 over 100. So it can be shown like that. So if you are asked to express the shaded part as a percentage, then we shall say the shaded part as a percentage is 40% of the total. For the unshaded part, we can still get the percentage. So for unshaded, it is 3 out of 5, which gives us, multiply this by 20, and this is 60 over 100, which is 60%. It is 60%. So this can also be done using a calculator if you want to use a calculator. Remember, the only principle we required here to show is that we wanted to show what is the comparison between the shaded and unshaded. We've identified that the shaded is 40%, and shaded is simply 60%. The whole of it represents a whole, or it's simply a ratio of 2 to 3. That is 2 parts of the shaded and 3 parts of the unshaded. So let us now look at questions touching on these particular problems. Expressing as a portion. Express the following. As both fraction and percentage. As both fraction and percentage of the total. And A, we have $40 out of a total of $200. $200. dollars, and B, we have 24 green ducks out of a total of out of a total of 30 ducks. Out of a total of 30 ducks. So this is what we have. Express the following as both fraction and percentage of the total. And in this particular part, what we have is $40 out of the total of $200, and 24 green ducks out of total of 30 ducks. So we start by looking at the first one. A fraction here from A will be 40 over the total, which is 200. Now this is just a fraction. We need to simplify it further. So by 10 we remain with 4 over 20. By 4 we get 1. By 4 we get 5. So this is a fraction. But they say to express as both a fraction and as well as a percentage. If we were to look for a percentage, we would say 40 over 200. We only need to reduce something that will give us denominator of 100. So by 2, we get 20. And by 2 here, you get 100. So if the denominator is 100, then it means that this is equivalent to 20%. So $40 out of a total of $200 is equivalent to 1 over 5, that is a fraction, or equivalent to 20%. The second part is asking us for 24 green. 24 green over the total of all ducks are 30. So this is already a fraction, so we need to simplify this fraction. And when you simplify, 6 is common in all areas. By 6 here you get 4, and by 6 here you get 5. So this is equivalent to 4 over 5 as a fraction. But when you want to go into percentage, you will then look at a number that will give us something close to 100. So which implies that 24, if 24 over 30 is the same as 4 over 5, then we need to find what makes it to 100 down here. We multiply here by 20, multiply here by 20. You will get this one is 80 over 100, which is equivalent to 80%. So green ducks forms 80% of the total population, or forms 4 over 5 of the total population. That is what we have in this particular case, that we can simply represent a number as a fraction or as a percentage. Let us look at another question. A glass of cordial is 1 part syrup to 9 parts water. Then A, express the amount of syrup as a fraction. As a fraction of the total. And B, express the amount of water as a percentage So a glass of cordial is simply 1 part of syrup and 9 parts of water. Express the amount of syrup as a fraction of the total, and 2, express the amount of water as a percentage of total. Now here, we consider a glass. It is just 10 units we require. So if there are 10 units, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So assuming this is the highest level I require, but for the syrup, it is simply 1 part. So this is the part for the syrup. If they say 1 part, what remains is filled by water, and that is 9 parts. So here, this is the syrup, and this is water. Now, how do we find it? For part 1, express the amount of syrup as a fraction of total. So this one here, we only require how many parts does syrup make? You realize that it is 1 part while water makes 9. So total parts is 10. For syrup is 1. So to express the amount of syrup as a fraction of the total, this will be 1 over 10. 1 over 10. Simply because there is a total of 10 parts, as we have seen, there is a total of 10 parts. Verb to label. There is a total of 10 parts. So syrup only makes 1 over 10. For the second part, a percentage, we want to express the amount of water as a percentage of the total. Now, amount of water is occupying 9 parts. Total parts that we have are 10. So this one is very simple. We need to approach it from the point that total parts is 10, water takes 9. So as a fraction, we find that the amount of water as a fraction is 9 over 10. But that's not what they are asking us to do. They are asking us to find the amount of water as a percentage of the total. So we need to express the denominator as to the power of 10, which is actually 100. So this, to make this one the denominator 100, then we shall multiply by 10 here and by 10 up here. You'll get 90 over 100. When you have 100 as a denominator, we already have the percentage. So the percentage becomes 90%. So we can simply say that comfortably that water in this mixture takes 90%. It takes 90%. So that is it for our lesson today. In our next class, we are going into historical point and look at Egyptian fractions. Thank you.